The only thing that will prevent us from doing is approving the minutes, but maybe some members will come rolling in here in the next few minutes. So ask that you please silence your cell phones during the meeting. And Madam Secretary, you can please call the roll.
Senator Mills, Senator Thomas, Representative Brown, Representative Dossett, Representative Gentry, Representative Imes.
Here.
Representative DJ Johnson.
Here.
Representative Palumbo. Representative Raymond. Representative Tate.
Here.
Senator Mays Bledsoe. Senator McDaniel. Representative Hale.
Here.
Representative Petrie. Representative Reed. Representative Bratcher. Representative Bridges. Senator Nemus.
Present.
Representative Fleming. And Representative Freeland presiding.
Present. Thank you. Our guests this morning, we've be discussing the Apprenticeship Incentive Fund, and we've got, if they want to come to the table and get ready, we've got Tara Purvis, the Executive Director of Big Eye, Kentucky, Shannon Stiglitz, the Senior Vice President of Government Affairs for the Kentucky Retail Federation, and Heather Stevenson with Workforce Development. She's the coordinator of the Kentucky Rural Water Association. So go ahead and, if you don't mind, you can introduce yourselves and start when you're ready.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Chairman Freeland. And committee, thank you so much for having us today. I'm Tara Purvis. I'm the president and CEO of Big Eye Kentucky, also known as the Independent Insurance Agents of Kentucky.
Good morning. My name is Heather Stevenson. I am the Workforce Development Coordinator of Kentucky Rural Water Association. And I'd also like to recognize some of my colleagues that are here with me today. Executive Director Scott Young, Marketing and Marketing Coordinator Savannah Goad. I'd like to recognize Scott Treese, who is the General Manager of LaGrange Utilities, and Dustin Turner, who is a high school track student who is co-oping at LaGrange Utilities.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, and my name is Shannon Stiglitz, and I am the Senior Vice President of Government Affairs for the Kentucky Retail Federation.
Okay, well, I will start by saying we represent three different industries here with that are all essentially feeling a little bit of the pinch, as I'm sure most of you guys have heard, where it's really hard to find good talent. It's really hard to find people that want to enter our industries. I can speak for ourselves when I say that insurance is not really super sexy. So trying to find people to come in, trying to find young people to come in is quite difficult. And every agent that I go into to visit, whether it's 2 employees or 100 employees, are struggling to find people to come into our industry itself. I know that they can speak probably to the same, that it's difficult to find help. And so that's where the Registered Apprenticeship Program has come in, and we have developed apprenticeships that cater to our industries and help develop young people in and grow your own and help make those students or apprentices more educated on our on-the-job training models. So maybe you can speak a little bit to the people trying to get, yeah, sure.
So I'd first just like to start off telling you a little bit about our registered apprenticeship program. So Kentucky Rural Water Association had our program approved in the fall of 2019. We offer tracks in drinking water systems operations as well as wastewater systems operations. We are actively recruiting and training people that are tasked with taking care of what I think is arguably our most precious resource, because water is life. So we are facing a critical shortage of operators, not just in our state, but across the country. And so there was a national movement to develop an apprenticeship program in our industry. We have a time-based program of 2 years of on-the-job training and 288 hours of related technical instruction. Our subject matter experts are our mentors, our certified operators that are teaching apprentices the day-to-day on the job. We currently have 23 active apprentices across the state. We have graduated 14 apprentices. 11 of those have been drinking water system specialists, and 3 of those have been wastewater specialists. We are continuously enrolling and looking to recruit people who want to make a difference in their communities. So far, since our program started in 2019, I'd like to share that we have tracked over 102,000 hours of on-the-job training of our apprentices, as well as almost 7,000 hours of related technical instruction that has been delivered, again, from the subject matter experts in our industry to train our apprentices.
Thank you. And I am stepping in for our Director of Operations, who manages our apprenticeship program. So I forgive you that you're getting the bench warmer here on this topic. But for the Retail Federation, of course, we are experiencing the same workforce shortages that all industries are experiencing. Our apprenticeship program is to have a high school student come in and learn how to run a retail shop. So this is going to be a total of 2,000 hours of training with a retailer. We don't have an apprentice in our program yet. It is very, very new to the Retail Federation. We are kicking off our program with, in a couple of weeks, what we call the Retail Next Gen Conference, where retailers and students who have expressed interest and the Kentucky Department of Education will come together for a conference to discuss the opportunity of participating in a retail entrepreneurship setting. And I say entrepreneurship because we do see this as a track that provides a student with that ability to utilize those skills they may want to learn in entrepreneurship if they want to open their own retail store, if they want to go into management of retail. It's a model that has withstood the test of time for many of our large retail employers. And so we want to continue to grow that for all of our retailers, regardless of size, and that's our goal. So
we also have, as great as, and I will go through a little bit about how the registered apprenticeship works, so you guys have a better idea. Let's see here. How does this? We'll just scroll up here. Okay. So this is what we're asking for today, I guess, is the first of its kind. Kentucky would be the trailblazer here in this. No other state has taken this approach, but this will obviously combat the labor crisis that we are all experiencing and advance young people into lucrative careers. The registered apprenticeship model, as you can see here, it's paid on-the-job training and classroom instruction, like Heather was speaking of earlier. So it helps get these people into this sustainable talent skilled pipeline where they are essentially being taught by the people that have been doing it for years and years. And this, at the end of this program, this is all done under the Department of Labor, so it will lead to a nationally recognized credential following and certificate. So here are some facts about registered apprenticeships. Obviously, we've talked about earning as you're learning, growing your own. This national retention rate of completers is 91, but in Kentucky, it's 87.2%. Kentucky currently has 4,000 plus apprentices in 259 occupations. Again, leads to a nationally recognized credential, and this is the other degree. So this essentially keeps them from going to college or to some post-secondary education. And it doesn't necessarily keep them from doing it, but it just helps them get to a point where either the employer could pay for their education later on, or just keep them from having the exorbitant amount of student debt. So as you can see, this will combat that as well. So essentially how this works is we have if we have an employer that steps up to the plate that wants to go through this process, we will go to the schools in those areas. We will talk to the students. We will have people go in from industry to talk to these students, talk to the teachers, teach the teachers about all of these programs, and let them know that there are alternative methods to this education process. And so once that happens, the apprenticeship is accepted into the program, where they will, is an accountability measure. So their parents have to sign off, the apprentice has to sign off, the teacher and the employer. So you're going to have that accountability model on all sides. Each apprentice has to complete 144 hours of instruction. This is per 2,000 hours or per year. And then this complements the hands-on training that they receive from the employer. So there's a couple different models that they can take here. The rewards that come from this. So the employer is responsible currently for all wages paid here. So the employer would be responsible for the progressive wage increases that are segmented through the apprenticeship model. So they start at a rate that is designated by the specific registered apprenticeship, and then throughout, so ours specifically is 2,169 hours. So they start at a wage. After 1,000 hours, they get $1 increase, and at completion, they would receive $1 increase. With insurance, they have to be licensed in insurance. So once they turn 18, they can get their insurance license, and that would bump them up 50 cents. So they can kind of see the light of that at the end of the tunnel, and they can see that they would be making a wage. And then upon a completion, they would receive this nationally recognized credential from the United States Department of Labor. I will, would you talk about the track program a little bit?
Sure. So the track model is essentially it is a high school youth apprenticeship model. And I do want to clarify that our apprenticeship program, our apprentices are not all high school students. We do enroll current employees of utilities that need to upskill. And we can also enroll new employees once they are hired at a utility. And then the track model is a way for us to get into our school systems and to showcase our industry as a viable career option. What the track model does is it works within the framework of career and technical education. So it's designed to accelerate the opportunities for students and set them up on a career pathway to seamlessly fall into registered apprenticeship. So again, it utilizes the current high school CTE infrastructure at no cost. The U.S. Department of Labor and Department of Education recognize this program as a national best practice model. One thing I'll mention as well is the track program is actually a National Apprenticeship Ambassador, as is National Rural Water Association. We were in the first cohort of apprenticeship ambassadors for best practices. 3 years post-graduation, track students are 100% employed and earn an average of $41,000 a year. the process essentially and how we're able to tap into career and technical education. So we think of our area technology centers that are all over the state, and students are there learning skills to help them become employable. And so what we're able to do as an industry is take a look at what is offered at a local career and technical education center. So we look at the ATCs and we see what programs they offer that will work or would be relevant to the skills that they need in our industry. And then we can take them and show them how to utilize those skills in our industry. So the employer works, once we have an employer that says that they will take on a track student, the employer works with the school system to identify and select co-op students. It's up to the employer to determine. They have the final say-so to determine if the student successfully completes and transitions as a full-time apprentice after graduation. And credit for prior learning through CTE courses can count toward the related technical instruction component of apprenticeship. So by the time they graduate high school, they are already earning on-the-job training hours and related technical instruction hours toward the completion of a registered apprenticeship program.
Perfect, thanks. So, I know you guys heard of co-op and how that is. There are approximately 70,000 students eligible for the co-op program. Now, however, they are not necessarily being led to this because this is kind of a lesser known thing. And so we have noticed that I believe the numbers are right here. It looks like these of those 70,000, we only have about 70 to 80 apprentices a year that are in this track program. So there's a huge opportunity to take a lot of these children or kids, students, and put them into these programs and get them into the workforce. And so this is what leads to the employer incentive. And so we have, do you want to go ahead and take this one?
Our goal and our ask today is we are requesting so that we can accelerate this model and get more students and employers to engage in this model, $2.5 million for a seed money to entice employers to take on registered apprentices. That would be each employer hiring a new apprentice would be eligible for $2,000. Employers that hire youth apprentices, those coming from that high school and track program, would be eligible for an additional $1,000, so for a total of $3,000. Funds would be directed to the Kentucky Office of the Employer Apprentice Services to be allocated to the employers. Funds would incentivize employers by helping them pay for the costs associated with the apprenticeship program. They are nationally recognized, and so that means that there are, of course, costs associated with it. Some of those are tangible costs. I mean, imagine if you're in rural water and you're doing water systems, you're going to need tools and things like that. But for others, it may be more just of getting that educational experience. This would be for the upcoming budget, and we want to increase and get 833 Kentucky apprentices hired over the next 2 years within this program.
So if so, these are the groups obviously here today. This, as you guys know, I guess apprenticeships are most commonly thought of as your trades, and so this is the non-traditional approach. And so all apprentices going forward would be eligible for this, no matter which occupation or which industry it's in. But we're the ones that are going to push this forward and see if this pilot would work, and then of course be able to report those statistics later. So does anyone have any questions for us?
Any members? Okay. Senator Demus?
Yes. I was Deputy Secretary of the Labor Cabinet, so I'm very familiar with this and have a few different questions, if the chairman will allow me. First, on the rural water, do y'all work with Bell County Detention Center?
We do not have any apprentices at this time at Bell County
But
Detention
you know
Center.
about their program there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but there's no apprentices utilizing that?
No, not at this time.
Okay, so yours is a registered apprenticeship, as you
Yes,
you
sir.
stated.
We're
Okay.
registered with the Department of Labor.
Shannon, yours is more of a co-op, not a registered apprenticeship, right?
I want to be accurate in saying this. Like I said, I am the bench warmer on this. But yes, it is a registered apprenticeship.
You sure of that?
I'm pretty sure, but I will double check.
Okay.
Tara's nodding her head. Again, this is brand new, but it's been a long time effort for Cassie Grigsby, who is our Senior Vice President of Operations, through our Kentucky Retail Federation Foundation, and the goal was to make it a registered apprenticeship, and I believe we did.
So it may
accomplish
be
that.
in process or just happened. Okay.
I think yes, it's very new.
And then Tara, yours is that a registered apprenticeship, or are you talking about track? Because track is a fantastic program that when I was there was more in the Laura Arnold and what was her other name that ran that, wasn't with the Labor Cabinet, and they more talked about it than did it, and they more sold the curriculum to the high schools than actually there was hardly any numbers that went through the track. But it is such a great program when you explain it, and nationally everybody loves it, but are we really doing it? And then, because I would like to see it implemented the way it is meant to do. And then the $2.5 million, who is going to handle that?
Okay, so I'll answer the first question. So we do have a registered apprenticeship. Ours is called the General Insurance Associate. We have utilized this. We actually have someone in the audience here. I have an insurance agent with me, and he has an apprentice that has completed the program. Now, this is essentially the track program was laid on top of this. So they utilized a high school junior, and she started the program and then completed it through her senior year. And so she was able to take all 2,169 hours and the 144 education hour credit inside of her high school. So she was able to utilize the track program, and then she was able to complete the apprenticeship. And she is
and
now
that
an
insurance
employee.
program is a good one. That was one that started when we were there.
Yes, that's perfect.
So where is the administration? I mean, they're the ones that's supposed to be handling registered apprenticeship. Where are they today? And that's why I'm asking who's
Sure.
going to handle the $2.5 million.
So we have been in contact with the Office of Apprenticeship. What was that? Just the specific name here.
And what was your answer from them?
So they are ready and willing to take it. So they are prepared for this. Here it is. I'm
The
sorry.
warning is that they've kind of diluted that into their business association people, and the apprenticeship program is kind of just, we talk about it, where we had it separate programs.
To my knowledge, we are, like I said, we have spoken to them. We actually had, and I think they sent it along with it. Last year, we tried to do a bill on this, and it was a little late in the process of the legislative session. And so we were speaking to them, the Kentucky Office of Employer and Apprenticeship Services, and they were prepared to to receive this
because
and distribute.
we didn't have a big problem with businesses wanting to get involved. We just needed the outreach to them, and they've lessened the outreach to them on registered apprenticeship. And I'm myself willing to give more money for this program if it's utilized for this program and not for the administration of the total programs not even the registered apprenticeship that they are doing now.
That would be
So,
amazing. Yes.
I would have to have some security, knowing they're going to actually, this money's going to go to where it's great. But I'm very, very skeptical that it will actually go there.
Okay. Well, I am right in your corner. I would love to see that as well.
Okay.
Thank
That's
you.
why I'm very concerned that they're not here. They're going to run the program and they're not even here. Mm-hmm. But thank you for what you're all doing, because
No, I
I
appreciate
totally
it.
agree with what you're trying.
Yes. Thank you.
And I think, to your point, it's an excellent one that businesses not knowing about it, particularly given the sort of more business side of things that retail and the insurance industry are on. And we do see ourselves as that conduit to helping get to that connection. And to your point about ensuring that the administration and this office utilizes it in an appropriate way, I think that you can create and put those guardrails in budgetary language or in a statutory language so that it is tight enough to ensure that it's going where it's dedicated, and we'd be more than willing to sit down and work with you on that exact language.
And Senator Nemes, if you wouldn't mind me to follow up in regards to your track comment, I asked Dustin Turner to be here with us today because he was our track initiative finally came into fruition in the fall of 2022 when we were able to get Mr. Turner to sign his letter of intent to enroll as a registered apprentice once he graduates high school. Part of that letter of intent was that he had to complete his track requirements. But what it allowed us to do was put this opportunity in front of him. He never, and he'll tell you, he never really knew where his water came from before this opportunity arose. And I want to thank Scott Treese with LaGrange Utilities for being willing to take on a co-op student and lead the charge to show that this is a model that can work. But what's exciting for me is the fact that in potentially being able to offer an employer incentive, that it's going to bolster our recruitment efforts on both sides, both with employers and potential apprentices. Budgets are tight at utilities. They, and with an apprenticeship program, a lot of other industries, they can wait and hire someone once someone leaves. In an apprenticeship program, you can't do that. You have to be able to budget for bringing someone on to work alongside that trained and experienced technician, and so an incentive to be able to offer to employers would really help us to bolster and get more involvement and participation in the apprenticeship program.
Well, you're preaching to the choir, because that was our baby. We pushed a registered apprenticeship, and you're right, it's a great thing. I'm just very skeptical of the way it's turning out at this moment on that money being utilized properly. So you come to my office, we can talk about it, Shannon, and okay.
All right, we've got some other members with questions. Representative Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a little bit of a latitude. I have a couple of questions, if you don't mind. I do appreciate your effort in terms of stimulating or trying to find some creative measures in terms of workforce. I know Shannon knows I've been pushing workforce things for the past for a while. But I have a couple of questions in regards to what your efforts contain. You're asking for $2.5 million. That is, I'm going to assume that is all 833 at $3,000 a pop. In doing that, equates to, based on $41,000, it's around $41,000 income per individual, equates to about $34 million in payroll, and then we can go through the calculation in terms of what the impact is and all that good stuff. I want to ask you, for $2.5 million, is that, do you see a significant return on taxpayers' money on the $34 million and any other ancillary income the state gets, as well as not only state but also local?
I definitely see that. By being able to push this through. I mean, this is just the beginning, I guess, is kind of how I see it. And by this being a pilot program, I believe that we start with the 833, and then hopefully in years to come, then we can double and triple that and get people into the workforce more quickly and reduce their burdens of student loans and any kind of debt that would incur by going to like a school system in Kentucky.
So that leads to my next question. What about sustainability? You're looking at $2.5 million. You want to continue to grow it, so you're going to come back to the state every budget cycle and ask for a little more increase and so forth. So is there a cap? Is there a limit? And then dovetailing with that, what type of reporting requirements are y'all going to have into the language in terms of making sure that, one, y'all are basically coming to fruition or showing proof in the pudding, we want to call it that, but also showing, as Senator Menemus mentioned, in terms of maintaining the administrative costs and in terms of administering this program, because we got to really take that in consideration. Because could y'all address those?
Sure. To your first question about if you have 833 students making an average of 41,000, of course you're going to have more income taxes to the Commonwealth. They're going to buy more products. They're going to pay sales taxes. And of course, local occupational taxes will be impacted. And they'll be working in their communities where they live. And so to the point of we are willing to look at, I think, for the national apprenticeship, that requires us to do some reporting to keep that status and level. But I think we want to prove the concept first before we say that this should be a permanent program, and then have that proof of concept demonstrated, report back to you and say, this is where it worked, this is where we need improvements, and then here is how many we think we can handle for the next budget cycle, and how can we make this a permanent program if the success is proven as we believe it will be after 2 years.
Okay, well, any budget language that y'all come up with, and I just took a real quick glance of which y'all proposed at the end of last session, is that correct? And I would strongly suggest you put in some reporting requirements in there, as well as oversight or thoughts on keeping the administrative costs to a minimum. On House Bill 200, we think we went up to 5% or no more than $1.5 million based on $25 million, those sorts of things. I strongly encourage you to put that in there for it to go through, because that's what I know the overall A&R committee would like, make sure that we've got some feedback on how these programs materialize and so forth. One more question, and that is, Mr. Chairman, is this applicable to a broad spectrum of disciplines and professions and so forth? You talked about rural, water, you talked about retail. Could you give me 2 or 3 different types of professions that these individuals will go into?
Well, we're just 3 of the industries of, I think that we reported almost 600 different apprenticeship models that are active in the state of Kentucky. So currently our apprenticeship model gets them into a customer service representative or an account manager role at an insurance agency that would then, once they learn kind of the nuts and bolts of an insurance agency, then they can produce and go out and sell insurance, and then ultimately either manage or own their own insurance agency in the future. And so that's what ours is geared toward, to place them on a career pathway. I can't speak for the other industry.
Excuse me. Well, I think that as far as who would be eligible, and am I understanding that question correctly? Who else would be eligible for these funds?
No, not really. I just want to know what type of professions are y'all addressing
Sure.
in terms of career path? You mentioned the gentleman a few minutes ago. What is his career path? What will he be getting into, and other
Sure.
folks?
So, Mr. Turner is on a pathway to become a water systems operations specialist.
Okay.
His goal will be to become certified through the state of Kentucky and be able to be in responsible charge of a utility. So he's on that pathway. There is not a lot of turnover in our industry. It is a stable industry. It's not just a job, it is a career. And so these are the opportunities that we are providing through our apprenticeship program. So as far as the others, again, we have tracks in water and wastewater. So we are working to train those, and they're really public health officials, because they are protecting and providing water to their local communities. So those are the careers that we're offering through our industry, and there's a lot of room to grow in our industry. It's not just part of our workforce shortage. We're kind of in the middle of a concentrated retirement bubble right now. We're facing 30 to 50% of our operators leaving just through retirement alone. 56% of utility managers, based on the 2022 Kentucky Water Workforce Survey, 56% of responding managers said their utilities do not have enough operators. They aren't fully staffed. 65% of wastewater managers said that their utility doesn't have enough. An average of 4 operators are expected to retire from each utility within the next 5 years, and 55% of utilities reported an increase in job vacancies, and that's just over the last 2 years. So these are career paths that we're putting them on. It's not it's not just a job in a holding pattern, a holding place until the next good thing comes along, and it allows our apprentices to live and work in their communities.
Shannon, what about retail side?
Yes. So, again, we are just in the process of starting, but I think the exciting thing from the retail side is that we are getting ready to host this conference in collaboration with the Kentucky Department of Education. And we have over 100 students who will be attending to learn more about going into this track. So if you think about 833 apprentices being funded, and we have interest from 100 from across the state, we're very excited about that. As far as other industry sectors, we can get you a list of the registered apprenticeships within the Commonwealth. I think if you think about it, probably what you think of most traditionally is your building trades, and the electricians, those HVAC, those types of paths are sort of what we traditionally think about within apprenticeships. And Senator Nemes can probably correct me if I'm wrong, but this is really growing that model to unique sectors that have not taken advantage of it before. And we're excited about the number of students who are willing to engage in the retail sector. We think the entrepreneurial aspect of retail is what is driving them to that sector right now, because they are going to learn so many things about running a business and that opportunity. And so that's where we are.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Representative Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I'm going to kind of continue the line of questioning, line of understanding a little bit about the breadth of your program. Because as I sit here, if I were going to pick out 3 industries that an apprenticeship program might come together and the 3 of them work together to make it happen, I don't know that I would come up with retail, water, and insurance. So I'm kind of curious how you guys came together, and so the 3 of y'all under one umbrella for one program. I'm confused.
Well, so we are, we actually came together because we are all associations, trade associations that we work together in a couple of different manners. But when we identified that each of us also had a registered apprenticeship program, that's when we decided to join forces. Now, some other people that could be at this table are like the Association of General Contractors. I mean, obviously they have their tradespeople as well. They are in support of this as well. There are all kinds of professions out there, but what brought us together was our mutual association. Our membership organizations were board driven, and so we just identified that each of us were essentially going through the same thing. So we are leaning on each other, you know, just for our just for general questions about how we're getting things done in this space. And then so we decided when we were looking at this and how are we going to propel this forward, then we were going to work together to do this. So it does seem strange, you're correct, but we do all have the same mission in mind. And you know, anybody, and we are essentially working for a very, very broad concept here, because anybody that has a registered apprentice would be eligible for this program. So,
Okay, follow up, please. Great answer. I wasn't even sure how to ask that question. So your target is 833 across your three industries. Is there a breakdown on that, or is there a target number where you would go, all right, we've met what we need to, our needs are, therefore the program is for us is no longer necessary? Or I'm just looking for the end game. What's the ultimate objective here? What do you need?
Representative Johnson, I appreciate the question, and I do want again to clarify that it's the 833 wouldn't just be divided among our three industries, but you know, for us, there's and I'll also go back to Representative Fleming's question before. There is a cap for all the registered apprenticeships that would be eligible for this. There is a cap. I believe that the amount is $43,000 per entity that would be able to utilize it. And so other industries that are larger and maybe have more apprentices, other trades, there would be a cap in that. But I mean, the end game for us is to have a steady pipeline of, for me, of operators that are continuously being trained. The need isn't going to go away for us because people are always going to need water. Our communities are growing. The economic development that we want to see in all of our communities can't happen without the proper infrastructure. And so as we grow our local communities, the need for infrastructure to expand also means that we have to have more people in responsible charge of them. So for us, it's helping to just feed the steady pipeline of eligible applicants.
And go
ahead.
ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that all apprenticeships have different timelines. So ours is approximately 1 year of full-time service, so the 2,000 hours. However, you know, some apprenticeships are like, it might take them 8 years to complete. So this pilot for the 2 years, you know, some entities might only receive 1,000 per apprentice because they'll either just be beginning or completing at that time. So it's going to be it's just going to be a variable because, and I guess once the money is gone in this 2 year period, then, you know, it's gone. So it's kind of a first come, first served use. And it's geared towards this, you know, that point forward, whenever the budget goes into effect, that point forward. So if you have a registered apprenticeship that started later or before, it wouldn't necessarily take control then. That's how I understand it. So.
Okay. Shannon, were you going to say something?
I was going to just say from our need grew out of the need for employees, and particularly employees that will have some tenure within the retail sector. And so our long-term goal is to grow employees who see retail as a career and not just a stopping point along the way, but a true lifelong career. From a short-term perspective within this program, it really is to first kick off with our employers that taking this step and making this investment is a good proposition for them, and to prove the concept to you that providing this seed money for retailers or for other apprenticeships will generate the employees here at home that we all know we want. And then from there, so that's the short-term goal. Once we do demonstrate or have that proof of concept, look at, okay, now we have accomplished this, and maybe, $2.5 million was gone in the first 6 months of the fiscal year 24. And so then we're looking at, okay, we need to revamp this. This is very popular. Or maybe it takes a while to get it up and running, and we have to look at there being some changes within that. Once we have that proof of concept, coming back to you and say, we want a more permanent solution and appropriation to this, and this is where we see the need.
I would just say that it's all good benefits from what you're proposing, but it's definitely, I think, two different tracks. One is economic development, and one is infrastructure. And it's just kind of interesting that the three of y'all come together to make this happen. And I guess it's based on your relationships and what your common interests. But so I think I'm supporting the program. I will echo what Senator Nemes said. It's great to have a program, but if it's an orphan and nobody's willing to take care of it and nurture it, it dies. So I would be very interested in hearing who and exactly how the program would be administered. Thank you for your indulgence, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Senator Thomas, you have a question or two?
I have a question for Shannon. Shannon, I have nothing. I see nothing wrong with this program. I have no problem with it. But let me tell you what I think would make this more attractive. I do like the entrepreneurial aspect of this program, the business development program. I'm a big believer in business development and people owning businesses. That's the kind of work I do when I'm not here. And I see that as strengthening the American economy. What would make this program more attractive to me would be to have, to tie this with the Cabinet for Economic Development. There'd be a network where we'll utilize the United States Small Business Administration, utilize SCORE. There are a number of different programs out there, such as there's a Kentucky State Small Business Credit Initiative. You got CDFIs. Those are areas that I'm working on with others. I think having these people come into this program and not just see themselves as workers, but someday business owners makes it really attractive. And I think it's that tie-in to what Mike said, Senator Nemes, excuse me, that makes it attractive. So I would like to see this have some kind of tie-in to the Cabinet for Economic Development, so that in addition to the hands-on training that they would receive to learn how to do the business, they'd also be receiving entrepreneurial and education about what business ownership takes as well. That's what really would attract me to this program. Otherwise, it just seems to just be this is another jobs program, as opposed to really being an economic development program, a business development program for this state. So I really would encourage us to take a look at tying this into the more business development, economic development, all the various programs out there for business owners, for these young people to come to this program and 5 or 6 years later be business owners. That's what would attract me. And by the way, I don't want to end my statement by pointing out that I worked with Senator Nemes years ago. And I was glad to hear him talk about the apprenticeship program. He knows apprenticeship programs better than anybody in the Senate. And so, Mike would certainly be my go-to in terms of saying what will make apprenticeship programs work. And I hope he would agree with me that tying this into business ownership for these apprentices would be a real hook to make this program successful.
Senator Thomas, thank you so much for your question, because I absolutely love that concept that Shannon talking, and I will absolutely take that back to our Senior Vice President of Operations. One thing about retail and the Economic Development Cabinet that I think is important to understand is there's one industry sector that is absolutely prohibited from receiving any local economic development incentives, any property tax, and that's retail. Now, you mentioned the small business tax credit and not tax credit, the small business development program. Yes, and that is one that retail is actually able to take advantage of. So that's a new relationship for us to develop, and we need to work with Monique Quarterman in the Cabinet for Economic Development on
And
that.
Shannon, also take a look at CDFIs
Okay.
as well. Community Development Financial Institutions, their funding. Take a look at that as well.
Okay.
There are a number of programs out there that will benefit the retail industry.
And we did just have our retail, we call it retail recharge, where we bring retailers. We had the Small Business Administration there to, help those who want to grow their business and learn more about those programs. But yes, we absolutely have a responsibility to connecting future retailers and current retailers with all the programs that they can take advantage of.
I don't want this to be another jobs program, but I really think this has a lot of promise for the state. I think it was Representative Johnson talked earlier about return on investment. This is I don't really buy into that a whole lot because this is government, this is not business, but it would have some return on investment if you're taking people who are young people who want to get to work, but someday be business owners. That would be a return on investment that this state would benefit from for generations.
And as I've mentioned, I'm very proud of our members who have within their own internal corporate structures many of these programs themselves. I think of when I was a student at the University of Kentucky, I know Kroger had a program like this, watched some of my fellow students at the time and look back now who have grown into careers within that corporate setting and have sought the highest of heights within the corporate structure. So we know it's a model that can work, and we very much appreciate the feedback. So thank you.
Thank you. And one last member has questions. Representative Gentry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tara, Shannon, Heather, thanks for being here and presenting this. I think any ideas to address workforce shortages moving forward are good ideas to talk about. My question is the incentives themselves, the $1,000 incentives for the employers. Can you talk a little bit about how you arrived at that number of $1,000? Is there a basis behind that number? And what I'm getting at here is we want this to work, okay? So when we pull numbers out of the sky, are we doing that, or is there have been a lot of communications with employers about what that number should be to trigger the type of hires that we're looking at for the apprentices? Because we all know, we can put whatever number there is, and does the incentive work? Does it not? And if it does, they're always going to come back for more. They're going to come back to us for more. You know how that works. But if you could just talk a little bit about is there a basis that arrived at these numbers and what that is?
Thank you very much for the question. We did get together as a group, coalition, however you want to talk about it, and we talked about what would incentivize an employer. That would be able to just be able to offset some of the costs associated. So I have personally hired some people that are straight out of college. I haven't attempted the high school yet, just in my field specifically, and there's a lot to learn. And so I think that just the incentive in trying to get people to go, I mean, all of my insurance agents want somebody with experience. They want somebody with experience, and these people have zero experience. And so you're literally teaching them from the ground up. So when we got together, we wanted it to be enough as far as like how we came to these numbers. We wanted it to be something that kept them going through the program so that it would continue their involvement and continue them helping these people go through and learn and get excited about careers. So the fact that it was a progressive, based on acceptance of doing it and then completion of doing it. So that was essentially why we came up with these specific numbers. Again, there is that variable because we don't really know, but we're hoping that that would incentivize employers to do so. So I hope that answered the question.
Yes. So the answer is yes. There are communications that went on with employers that will utilize this. Okay, great. That's all I really wanted to know. Thanks.
All right. I thought we were going to get out of here, but Representative Bridges has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I look at these numbers and we're talking cash outlay on the budget. I'm going to throw something totally different out there and it'll probably make you squint, but instead of doing a cash outlay of $2.5 million and writing checks and then having the oversight of what Representative Nema says, what's the cost of it to oversee this, have you thought about a tax credit where you don't have to write these checks? If they the employers keep up with this, they get it at the end of the year. It's same as cash, but the state doesn't have the cash outlay, and it cuts down a lot on the bookkeeping, and it's another form of deduction on theirs, and it's still the same as cash to these corporations. So I know tax credits are taboo, but when it's a work incentive program, it's economic development and all this, and these companies you're talking about, it really helps the bottom line.
So
and then it may not be limited to $2.5 million, because when they employ these people, you do get the return on investment on taxes and all that, and it becomes more of a self-funding operation to where we've got hard numbers we can look at to see if it's actually worth it or not. Because when you're just throwing money out there, someone goes into this program, then they quit after 6 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever. Just a thought.
Yes, and I
Thank
can
you, Mr.
speak
Chair.
to this, Representative Bridges. Thank you so much for the question. There's a couple of reasons. We have discussed tax credits because that was one of the very first things that we thought of to make this program work. Other states have tried this. If you remember our earlier slide, that this would be Kentucky first. No one else has tried the employer incentive like we have built it here, but other states have tried the employer incentive tax credit, and it has not come off the ground. And so that's why we wanted to change the course a little bit. The second reason, and I'm going to push it to Heather, is because of the way that her organization is configured.
Right. So not everybody is eligible for a tax credit. And that's one of the barriers that we have. There's a work income tax credit. The utilities that we serve are likely not going to be able to take advantage of that. So.
And I failed to mention, if I may follow up, Mr. Chair, was that in those instances to the utilities that are publicly owned and everything, then we could look at a dollar amount to rebate, each time to make it fair. But I'm just looking at the accounting process. I mean, I'm looking to a $3,000 an employee. I used to be in the retail business. There's going to be a lot to keep up with that. And I'll just be honest with you, I don't know if I'd do it for $2,000. I mean, just to be perfectly honest. But if it was a form to fill out, file at the end of the year with your taxes, that it becomes a deduction and that's just one less amount I have to pay, then that's a whole different ballgame, because it's much simpler, more precise, and it does push the burden of accountability and everything over to the employer itself rather than some government bureaucracy to keep up with it. Sometimes, as Senator Nema says, they do a lot of talk, but nothing gets done. So just a thought, because there could be, I did think about utilities and the different ones that are publicly owned, and we could, work a program in for that particular to be, be parallel, but just the dollar amounts all pass through. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, ladies.
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation. We'll go ahead and conclude, but do need to, since we do have a quorum, motion and a second to approve Fleming and Representative Johnson. Thank you. And our next budget review subcommittee meeting will be on Thursday, November 2nd at 9 a.m., and I believe in this room right here. So, and thank you again for being here and taking the questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.